The squeeze play has become a really popular move in No Limit Hold'em, but sadly the player using it doesn't always understand why it works. So in this video we'll explain to you the basic mechanics of the move, the magic behind it, and then tell you some factors that would indicate that it's a good time to execute the play. So the strategy requires that 3 players are involved, 2 opponents and yourself, and you have to have position on both of these opponents. Player A will open the pot with a raise. Player B will simply call, and this opens the door for you to squeeze both opponent A and B with a re-raise. Usually a bet all in. The intention of the squeeze play is that both player A and B are forced to fold, and then you win a nice big bloated pot pre-flop with minimal risk. Now, that's a big task to get 2 players to fold. So how's that possible? Well, think about what each player has indicated about their hand based on their action. When A raises, he's saying that his hand's just good. He's in middle position and a good aggressive player here. Could be stealing the blinds, but usually just wants to take the upper hand. He could be playing a pretty wide range. His hand's not necessarily great, it's just good. And player B knows this. So when he calls, he's actually revealing that his hand's just okay. It's of medium strength. Because if it were strong, he would have re-raised A right there. But he's saying, I want to see a flop and improve to be better than player A's hand. Now, when we re-raise, because of a principle called the gap concept, it's actually saying our hand is great. It's really strong. And this puts player A and B in a really awkward situation. A has 2 opponents now. And he knows that our hand, well, at least we've indicated that it's really strong. And even though player B's hand is just okay, there's a small chance that B was being tricky and had something like king-king or ace-ace and was trying to trap player A. So those 2 things together are almost always enough to get player A to fold his good hand. Now player B, he's in a different situation with just 1 opponent, but because his call almost always indicates a medium strength hand, he will almost always fold. And the squeeze works. But let's put some numbers behind it to make it a little more clear. Let's say the blinds are 100 and 200. And player A has a stack of 4,500. B has slightly less with 3,600. And we have the same size as player A, 4,500. So A raises 600, pretty standard, 3 big blinds. B calls that 600. Now notice the pot is actually pretty big already. It's 1,500 chips. That's a third of our stack. So if we win this, we'll boost our stack by 33%. It turns out we actually have to win this 3 out of 4 times. Say we win the pot 1,500 3 times in a row, and then the 4th hand we lose 4,500. You see, if we net these profits, we actually just break even by winning 3 out of 4. So the threshold to become profitable is winning at least 3 out of 4 of these squeezes, and that's a really high threshold. So what are some things that we can think about to increase the likelihood of getting 2 players to fold? Well, for player A, we'd like him to be loose and aggressive, because this means that he's more likely to have played a wide range of hands pre-flop, hands that he's happy folding to our all-in. Now, B we'd like to be loose as well, but we need him to be passive, because then it's plausible that he called with a weak hand pre-flop. Our image needs to be tight and aggressive, because again, it's plausible that we're making an all-in move with a strong hand. It fits our table image. Now, what are some things that would make us less likely to do a squeeze play? What would make it look less attractive? Well, certainly if A is tight, B's trappy, meaning he's tricky, he's likely to have just flat called queens, kings, or aces. Or if we're perceived as loose, or just active. So lastly, think about how many players are left to act behind you. The higher number of players who are left to act, the higher the chance that someone has a premium pair with which to call your all-in bet. In this case, there's only 3 players left to act, so we were in pretty good position to execute the squeeze.